It was about history. It was about legacy. It was about the players who built the WNBA long before Clark ever stepped onto a court. And it was about a narrative that has been bothering Wilson for years, the narrative that Caitlin Clark single-handedly saved women's basketball. Wilson didn't hold back. She said that the history of the league was erased for a minute when Clark arrived. She said that the women who went through the grimiest of grimy things to build the WNBA deserved to be remembered. And she made it clear that her resume, 4 MVPs, 3 championships, 2 Olympic gold medals, cannot be shaken by anyone. In this video, we're going to break down everything. Wilson's full message. The viral moment at the Miami Heat game where she couldn't escape Clark's jersey. The backlash she faced from Clark's fans. And what this all means for the future of the WNBA. Because this isn't just about 2 superstars. This is about a league at a crossroads, and the women who are fighting to define its legacy. Let's get into it. A'ja Wilson has earned the right to speak her mind. She is, by any measure, one of the greatest players in the history of women's basketball. 4 WNBA MVP awards. 3 championships. 2 Olympic gold medals. A Finals MVP. A Defensive Player of the Year award. And in 2025, she became the first player, in either the WNBA or NBA, to win a championship, Finals MVP, League MVP, and Defensive Player of the Year all in the same season. That's not just greatness. That's dominance. That's the kind of career that makes you a first-ballot Hall of Famer before you turn 30. So when Time magazine named Wilson its 2025 Athlete of the Year, just 1 year after Clark won the same honor, Wilson had every right to celebrate. But instead of just celebrating, she used the platform to address something that had been bothering her for a long time. The interview was conducted by Time's Sean Gregory. And when he asked Wilson about the divisive narrative surrounding Clark's arrival in the league, Wilson didn't hold back. "It wasn't a hit at me, because I'm going to do me regardless," Wilson said. "I'm going to win this MVP, I'll win a gold medal, y'all can't shake my resume." That was her opening. A declaration that no matter how much attention Clark received, Wilson's legacy was untouchable. But then she pivoted to something deeper. Something more important. It was more so, let's not lose the recipe. Let's not lose the history. It was erased for a minute. And I don't like that. Because we have tons of women that have been through the grimiest of grimy things to get the league where it is today. Those words hit hard. Because Wilson wasn't attacking Clark personally. She was attacking a narrative that suggested the WNBA didn't matter until a white rookie from Iowa showed up. She was talking about the pioneers. The players who played in empty arenas. Who fought for respect. Who struggled for sponsorships. Who built the league brick by brick, only to see their contributions minimized by a media that suddenly cared about women's basketball. Wilson's point was clear, Clark's success is real. Her impact is undeniable. But she didn't do it alone. And she's not the first to do it. The history of the WNBA is rich. It's full of legends like Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, Cynthia Cooper, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Tamika Catchings, Candace Parker, and Wilson herself. These women blazed the trail. They made the sacrifices. They opened the doors. And Wilson wanted to make sure that history wasn't forgotten. The interview went viral almost immediately. Clark's fans were divided. Some defended Wilson, saying she was right to call out the erasure of history. Others accused her of being jealous, of trying to tear down a young player who had brought unprecedented attention to the league. But Wilson wasn't done. Because she had more to say, and it was about something even more controversial. Before Wilson's Time interview, Caitlin Clark had already made headlines with her own comments about race and privilege. In her 2024 Time Athlete of the Year interview, Clark acknowledged that the WNBA had been built on black players and that, as a white person, there is privilege. She said that she understood the advantages her skin color had given her, advantages that many of her black peers didn't have. Those comments sparked a firestorm. Some fans praised Clark for her honesty. Others accused her of playing the victim or carrying water for critics. But Wilson's response to Clark's comments was different. It was measured, respectful, and surprisingly supportive. In a separate interview after being named one of Time's Women of the Year, Wilson was asked about Clark's privilege comments. And what she said surprised many people. As a black woman in the WNBA, we have our struggles in showcasing who we really are, Wilson said. A lot of agendas get pushed on a lot of different platforms that may shadow us. You work so hard, but you still have to work 10 times harder just to be seen. So when we can have our counterparts speak up, it speaks volumes to me, because they're in spaces where my path is never supposed to go. Wilson made it clear that Clark's willingness to speak up about privilege meant something to her. It was a sign of solidarity. A recognition that the fight for equality wasn't just about black players, it was about everyone who wanted the league to be fair. It's crazy that we're talking about that in 2025, but it's real. We see those things as black women. We see where people stand up and speak for us. But Wilson also acknowledged the backlash Clark faced. She knew that Clark had been attacked for her comments, by fans, by media personalities, even by some conservative activists. And she sympathized with the pressure Clark was under. I know she got a lot of backlash from that, because obviously we live in a world where they don't want that, and it's exhausting. But imagine dealing with that and then having to go out and play every single night, having to constantly have to worry, how are they about to downgrade my resume now? What more do I have to do in order to showcase how elite and how serious I take my job? That was a powerful moment. Because Wilson, who had been criticized for her own comments about Clark, was now defending Clark's honesty. She was acknowledging the pressure that both of them faced as women in the spotlight. And she ended with an even more powerful statement, I just want people to understand that when people can speak up about us as black women in rooms that we may not be in, that means a lot. Because it's a little piece of us in there, they can hold that door open for us to walk through. So I'm grateful. It was a moment of grace. A moment of unity. And it showed that despite all the drama, Wilson and Clark were not enemies. They were competitors, yes. But they were also allies in a larger struggle. If there's one thing that proves Clark's cultural impact, it's this, even Aya Wilson can't escape her. On January 4, 2026, Wilson was sitting courtside at a Miami Heat game to support her boyfriend, NBA star Bam Adebayo. The cameras were on her, as they usually are. She was smiling, cheering, enjoying the game. But social media noticed something else. The fan sitting right next to Wilson was wearing a Caitlin Clark Indiana Fever jersey. The internet lost its collective mind. Jared Parkert posted a video of Wilson sitting courtside, and the Clark jersey was impossible to miss. The comments flooded in immediately. Bet she loved that Clark jersey right next to her, wrote at DustyBottoms04. The person next to her in a CC jersey is my favorite part, wrote at Dolphin90025. Aya is feeling right now. She can't escape that CC mania, said at Dreadsbanes. The Caitlin Clark jersey loudly crying face I know deep down she mad as H rolling on the floor laughing, said at 11_FCB. I'm sorry, but CC tagline didn't disappoint loudly crying face she's anywhere. Loudly crying face, wrote at Chrisandeu. And perhaps the most telling comment, CC literally from anywhere, added at Lauren_UK1, a reference to Clark's famous deep-range shooting. The irony was undeniable. Wilson, who had just made headlines for saying the league's history was erased by Clark's arrival, was sitting next to a fan wearing Clark's jersey. It was a visual representation of everything Wilson was talking about. Clark's shadow is everywhere. Her fans are everywhere. Her brand is everywhere. And Wilson can't escape it, even when she's just trying to watch a basketball game. The viral moment sparked even more debate. Some fans thought it was hilarious. Others thought it was a subtle dig at Wilson. And some, like the fan who said Aya is seeing that Caitlyn's motion is real, saw it as proof that Clark's influence is undeniable. Wilson hasn't commented on the jersey moment directly. But her Threads post from December 9th, where she said you can always tell who reads articles for joy and better understanding, seems to address the constant scrutiny she faces. Either way, the moment was a reminder, Caitlyn Clark isn't just a player. She's a movement. And even the greatest player in the world can't escape her. Wilson's Time interview didn't just go viral, it triggered a massive backlash. Clark's fans, who are among the most passionate in all of sports, didn't take kindly to Wilson's comments. They accused her of being jealous. Of trying to tear down a young player. Of being bitter that Clark was getting more attention than she was. Social media was flooded with criticism. Some fans said Wilson should have just celebrated her own achievements instead of bringing Clark into the conversation. Others argued that Wilson was wrong to say history was erased, that Clark had always respected the pioneers of the league. Wilson, who is usually measured in her responses, decided to push back. On December 9, 2025, just days after the Time article was published, Wilson posted on Threads. You can always tell who reads articles for joy and better understanding of something or someone versus who reads articles just to look for something they disagree on or to stir up stuff face with tears of joy. It's crazy out here. Y'all be blessed, Whiteheart. It was a subtle but pointed message. Wilson was saying that her comments had been taken out of context. That she wasn't attacking Clark, she was defending the history of the league. And that anyone who read the full interview would understand that. But the criticism didn't stop. Some analysts even argued that Wilson's comments were hypocritical. One analyst, Robin Lundberg, made a compelling argument. If Caitlyn Clark had not arrived on the scene, what would the WNBA players' leverage be in the CBA negotiations right now? If Caitlyn Clark just decided to leave and retire, what would be the leverage that they have in the CBA negotiations right now? Because it seems like using that impact and the data to their advantage there is no problem, but giving credit where it's due is. Lundberg's point was clear, Wilson and other WNBA players benefit from Clark's popularity. They use Clark's impact to demand better pay and conditions in CBA negotiations. But they're reluctant to give Clark the credit she deserves. It was a fair criticism. And it highlighted the complicated dynamics at play. Wilson, for her part, has never denied Clark's impact. She has acknowledged that Clark brought attention to the league. But she has also made it clear that she believes the league would have succeeded anyway, that the talent was always there, and it was only a matter of time before the world noticed. The biggest thing for us, and why I was so happy, is that we continue to rise to the occasion, Wilson said in her Time interview. This was just a matter of time for us to really bloom and blossom. Because we have been invested in each other and our craft for a very long time. It was just like, they're going to pay attention. That statement, they're going to pay attention, is the heart of Wilson's message. She believes that the WNBA's success was inevitable. That the players were always this talented. That the league was always this exciting. It just needed a spark. Clark was that spark. But Wilson is convinced the spark could have come from someone else. And that's where the debate continues. So where does all of this leave the WNBA? The drama between Aya Wilson and Caitlyn Clark, whether real or manufactured by the media, has become one of the defining storylines of the league. And it's not going away anytime soon. Because this isn't just about two players. It's about two different visions of the WNBA. Wilson represents the old guard. The players who built the league. Who fought for respect. Who sacrificed for decades. She wants the history of the league to be honored. She wants the pioneers to be remembered. She wants the narrative to include everyone, not just the newest star. Clark represents the new wave. The player who brought millions of new fans to the sport. Who made women's basketball cool. Who broke records and shattered expectations. She wants the league to grow. She wants to win. And she's not going to apologize for being the face of that growth. Both women are right. Both women are wrong. And both women are essential to the future of the WNBA. Wilson's achievements are undeniable. 4 MVPs. 3 championships. 2 Olympic gold medals. A shoe deal. A Time Athlete of the Year award. She is the greatest player of her generation, and arguably the greatest of all time. Clark's impact is also undeniable. Record ratings. Sold-out arenas. Millions of new fans. A $28 million Nike deal. A Time Athlete of the Year award in 2024. She is the most popular player of her generation, and arguably the most popular of all time. The question is, can the league support both of them? Can it honor the history while embracing the future? Can it celebrate Wilson's legacy while building around Clark's stardom? The answer, hopefully, is yes. Because the WNBA needs both of them. Wilson has said she's prepared for a potential work stoppage if the players don't get what they want in CBA negotiations. She's ready to fight. She's ready to stand up for what's right. And she's ready to use Clark's leverage, whether Clark likes it or not. But Clark is also ready. She's ready to compete. She's ready to win. She's ready to be the face of the league, even if that means dealing with the pressure, the criticism, and the constant comparisons to legends like Wilson. In the end, both women want the same thing, a better WNBA. A more respected WNBA. A more successful WNBA. They just have different ideas about how to get there. And that's okay. Because greatness doesn't always agree with greatness. Sometimes, it fights. Sometimes, it argues. Sometimes, it pushes each other to be better. That's what Wilson and Clark are doing. They're pushing each other. They're challenging each other. And in the process, they're making the WNBA better. The league has a choice: get behind both of them, or continue to let the drama divide fans and players. The future of the WNBA depends on it.